Cha kwanza cha kuongea ni kutisha wenzako. Ati mnaiba uchaguzi. Mkijaribu kuiba uchaguzi, Kenya hii haitakuwa Kenya ile mnajua. Mtaona.
I'll further suspend the sentence that I issued, and I'm suspending it for 5 days.
Wanatuambia wametenga na kutenga. Sasa wametenga mpaka hata wametenga sisi.
Welcome back to News Sources. President Uhuru Kenyatta now says his government will not hesitate to arrest opposition chief Raila Odinga if he continues to make allegations lacking in substance against the National Intelligence Service. Interior CS Joseph Kaiseri has already asked the former Prime Minister to record a statement with the police. Let's have a listen.
Wengine siasa yao ni kutisha wenzao, ni kutusi wenzao, ni kuleta mambo ya ukabila. Sasa jameni, huyo mtu au watu kama hawa ni watu ambao kweli wako na nia njema ya wananchi wa jamhuri yetu ya Kenya? Kama wewe cha kwanza cha kuongea ni kutisha wenzako, ati mnaiba uchaguzi. Mkijaribu kuiba uchaguzi, Kenya hii haitakuwa Kenya ile mnajua. Mtaona. Leo ule mtaona nini? Hiyo wanasema tunaona ni nini? Na hiyo wanasema tunaiba, kuomba kura ni kuiba.
When your philosophy is guesswork, you end up like code with no candidate, no political party, no agenda. Unalaumu IBC, unalaumu voters register, unalaumu voters kwa sababu policy yako ni guesswork. Mimi nataka niwaambie, sasa inaonekana wazi hawa watu wa code hawako tayari kwa uchaguzi wa mwezi wa 8. Hawako tayari.
We are kicking off News Sources tonight, joined by our very own James Smart. Welcome to the show. Dominic Obala, you've been away for some time. Welcome to the show. Ibrahim Oruko from the Star newspapers, and of course Billy Moiruri. I'll kick off with you, Billy. Accusations, counter-accusations, or politics proper?
I think in the last several elections, there have been those kind of allegations. The other time they said that people are registering from Uganda. Yeah, I'm not saying that some of those things may not be happening, but I think for a person of the former Prime Minister's stature, you need to really also see whether the statements that we are making could fund violence after the elections. Because I think what the Jubilee people have been saying is that we must also not be seen like we are preparing our supporters for failure. So I think at this juncture, the court people, I think, are also spending so much time on sideshows instead of really looking at the real thing that they would push for a higher voter registration.
Oruko, Raila Odinga is speaking about NIS being used to register voters across in Uganda and Ethiopia. Uhuru Kenyatta is hitting back and trying to isolate him. Your take on this?
Yeah, I think that is a classic tactic by the president. You know, what is obvious is that the elections, these are high-stakes election. There's one guy who wants to retain power by all means, and another one who has one bullet left. So this kind of slugfest between the two of them is expected. But you don't know. You don't know. I would actually disagree with him and say maybe the president keeps on insisting on the issues of that his campaign is based on issues and policies and maybe ideology. We would rather see that going on rather than the idea of naming a person. I think it's upon Raila has a right to say what he wants to say. And as far as I know, NIS is when it was transformed from the so-called special branch, it became a civilian organization. It's not, it was not created on Mount Sinai or in makeup for that matter. So it can also do all these things. So let's discuss it. And I also doubt that the president will know, for example, whether these things are true.
Obala, have you come across this information? You've covered extensively issues to do with security. Had something like this?
I'll speak as somebody who has dealt with security for some time. And I think we are treading on very dangerous grounds as Kenyans, especially the politicians. Because as it is, NYS has got its work cut out. It's supposed to do a job for Kenya, and not for a political party and not for anybody. It does a job for the system, for Kenyans. And if the government is in place, then it does work for the government. Now, Raila is known to have access to information and delivering it to the people if he has those facts. I would be more comfortable if he had that kind of information to deliver it in public and prove himself right, other than involving an agency which is so crucial to Kenya's security into these political shenanigans that are coming around.
Yeah, James, that's the biggest question in the House at the moment. Where is this evidence that NIS is registering voters across?
It is, and shortly we'll be speaking to the spokesman of the Interior Ministry who raised the same questions in a statement that he sent earlier on. He said these things, possibly they're happening, and maybe, you know, the former Prime Minister will do this country a big favor by delivering those bits and pieces of evidence. And when that happens, then the police can start investigating, even the public, because the issues like NYS, you know, and Eurobond, the issues that he's put forward before, he came to the public and he sort of gave some sort of evidence. So I think we are stuck there, that we, you know, the principle in law that he who alleges must, you know, must prove. So it's incumbent upon him to give evidence as it is.
Rory?
I think from the experience that we have had in this country, no political leader should be allowed to make what we'd call careless statement. But if there is something that the former Prime Minister would know, which I know he would know because he has also been part of government, and he also has serious links to various agencies, let him bring it out, let it be investigated, let the public believe him more, because what is happening now is a sideshow. For me, I would call it a sideshow, meant to create tension.
Oruko, I mean, Raila Odinga, former Prime Minister, former Roads Minister, he's been in government for some time now. Can he just stand up and make such kind of wild allegations without backing it up?
Obviously no. And even he's a senior citizen also. You know, it's politics. You can't rule that out anyway. Let's start by saying that. But I don't know where this idea of it becoming a reckless statement comes from. For example, he is making an allegation. And this kind of shenanigans can possibly not be happening in public. Right. No. So it's something that is hidden. So no one can really say that you need to give evidence or proof. This is
hang on to that thought, Ruku. We're staying with it, and the ODM leader, Raila Odinga, who started it all, his response has been predictable. The former premier has told the Jubilee government to dare arrest him over his comments, insisting he stands by his word. Raila says the National Intelligence Service is actively registering Ugandans and Ethiopians. Take a listen.
Ile shirika ya ujasusi ambayo inalipa pesa na serikali, pesa ya raia, ndio inatumika kila mara kuiba kura. Mara ile nyingine wao ndio walituma maofisa yao. Saa ile ambaye IBC inasajili wale makarani, clerks ya kusimamia uchaguzi na presiding officers na returning officers, shirika ya ujasusi inaingilia pale mbadani na anaweka watu yao.
All right, and now let's get some response from the Interior Ministry. We have the spokesman on phone joining us. Mwenda Njoka, good evening. Thank you for making time to talk to us this evening. Paint for us, you know, the picture of the problem we have here, because as we are, and the media in the country, we don't have this information. It's been alleged in public. How do you deal with this? All right, I think I'll come back to Mwenda Njoka again, but here's the thing, yeah.
Hello, I can hear you, basically, hello?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Let's go ahead, please.
Oh, okay. John, what I'm saying is that, James, what I'm saying is that the biggest problem is people making allegations without having to consider the consequences, without having to consider the evidence, when somebody makes allegations of the magnitude that Honorable Raila Odinga made, he should have, the onus is on him to have provided evidence to the kind of comments that he made. I disagree entirely with Mr. Oruko over there to say that some of these things are happening in places where people don't see. Assuming that it was true, the allegations that he made, I assume that he knew what he was saying. He knew that maybe there are 100,000 Ugandans who have been brought in here, or 500,000, or whatever number, and where they are placed. He should have been able to provide that evidence before he went out to make allegations, because their onus of proof is on the person who makes allegations. The other thing I would like to point out is also when we make this kind of allegation against neighboring countries, that it also impacts on Kenya's relations with some of these countries. These are internal matters that should be dealt with internally. But when you say Ugandans are coming to the country, I assume that he is saying that Ugandans are coming with the connivance of the Ugandan government, Ethiopians are coming to Kenya to register with the connivance of the Ethiopian government and other nationalities, which now raises questions about Kenya's relations with these countries. To me, it should have been upon the former Prime Minister to provide evidence if we are serious. And I think this is just mere propaganda meant to just push his political career.
Let me ask this. Your government, these allegations have been made. Is there, from where you sit, from the Interior Ministry, a move or a strategy to compel the former Premier then to record these statements so that you can then take forward this statement, or is just asking him to sort of, record a statement? If he doesn't want, then what happens?
What I would say is that I think he is a mature person. He is somebody who is responsible. As a responsible leader, actually, I don't think anybody should be compelling him. He should have done the responsible thing, the honorable thing, to go and record. We've asked him. He has been asked by the president, by the Minister for Interior, and others have also told him, if indeed you have information to this effect, you don't go and payuka in public rallies. You go and record a statement, and that's the way you respond to some of these. That's the way you would get action to be taken. I don't think anybody is interested in arresting the Honorable Prime Minister, much as he might provoke for that kind of action. But the point is for him to do what is sensible, to record a statement.
You sent a statement the other day rubbishing Kalonzo Musyoka's allegations, as they were, that there was double registration using his national identity card. I mean, this is the trend in the Interior Ministry. You always dismiss what the opposition or what...
Let me explain to you. It's good to understand issues. When we issued a statement about Kalonzo Musyoka's ID, what we were speaking about was the role of NRB, and up to now, nobody has come to show that there are people who have the same ID card number. What we said is that we checked, and I have evidence. When we ran through the number of Kalonzo Musyoka's ID, it is only Kalonzo Musyoka who has that ID, which he lost sometimes back, and he got re-registered in December 2013. 2012, he got a new ID issued. When we checked the number, we did a check within the system of the lady who supposedly had been issued with a voter's card in the name of Kalonzo Musyoka. The lady had a different ID card number. So our point from Interior, I don't speak for the IEBC, I speak for the Minister of Interior. There was no two cards. We don't have two people with the one ID card.
Well spoken on Kalonzo Musyoka, but the IEBC is on record saying 182 people are out there sharing
128.
Exactly, sharing the same national identity. What have you done as the Interior Ministry?
No,
this falls under your...
Let's get it right. They say what NRB said. What IEBC said was that on their record there are people who are sharing the same ID card numbers in their system registered. But when we check on NRB system, everybody has their distinct. So that is a problem within NRB system, possibly a data entry issue, but it is not a problem. It doesn't question the integrity of the ID card. That's the distinction we are trying to make. There is a problem. They are saying that within their system, possibly for whatever reason, more than one person has been registered on the same number, or I mean, we're using the same number. But when we check on the ID, like for instance on Sarigo, if you run your ID, if you go to NRB and run your ID, you'll find that your ID number is only issued to on Sarigo or to anybody else. And we did the same with Kalonzo Musyoka. That ID, even Raila Odinga, we've done the same. That his ID is exclusively his own. It's not within our system. There is no evidence that NRB, those IDs are on two people. So it's not like we are denying for the sake of it. We are trying to make a distinction here so that Kenyans understand where the problem is. We are saying, indeed, there is a problem, but we will not help by blaming institutions or undermining institutions.
Spokesman Mwena Njoka addressing us on national identity cards and, of course, Raila Odinga's allegation. Staying with politics, Interior CS Joseph Nkaiseri is a man who does not fear controversy. This week, the CS has been issuing orders to chiefs to make sure they raise the numbers in their areas, issuing IDs without failure. But he went further, telling area chiefs in central Kenya to make sure the numbers there are much higher since, and I quote, is not ready to go home yet. Let's listen in to the CS.
Every chief, my friend, come out. Sublocation yako watu haja chukua kwanza hapa Kiambu for the last 3 days out of 600. How do you bring Uhuru back? 600 votes, 600,000 votes. Unakumbuka tulishinda tu na less than 10,000 last time, ni kweli? Alafu nyinyi mnaweka na siku hiyo mnatoka nje wote. Hata kama uko hospitali, you must get out. Come and vote for your future.
Smart. What rubbish is this?
This CS passionate, we just unfortunately lost the spokesman. But what do you make of it?
I think the CS, a number of CSs have lost or have forgotten what their mandate is. That with the new coming of the new constitution, unless it has changed, because there have been quite a number of funny amendments in Parliament. Unless that has changed, I don't think CSs are supposed to be involved in the kind of
that process. Is very clear, but yeah, they get involved.
They get involved, and it's so unfortunate that Mr. Nkaiseri actually gets to that. I think he has forgotten who he is and what his job really is.
Ruko, does he care, or is it a question of forgotten? Does he care really that the Constitution sort of said you're not a politician anymore, so you should stay on the other side?
First of all, before I go there, just compare and contrast the statement of his junior and now what he's saying. The junior has spent time telling us how you come forth and tell us. This behavior by the minister, superimposed with the Raila's allegation, there's some sense of proof that there's a determination by some people to have elections to go a certain way. But Bisatima, he doesn't care, really. As he has said, he doesn't want to go home. Power is good. You have said power is good. So he wants power, by all means, even if it means hitting the ground towards himself.
Billy, are we expecting too much if you're appointee of President Uhuru Kenyatta? Obviously, you would want Uhuru Kenyatta to have a second term. Are we just living in some Mount Sinai somewhere we're expecting people to be gods or something?
Yes. To leave power and go home.
I think it is quite simplistic for General Nkaiseri to say that his job will be retained just because maybe he's saying that by Central Kenya having many IDs, he's protecting his job. But I think the government has realized that there is a lot of IDs that have not been applied for, because I think the youth in Central Kenya are quite disillusioned. To speak the truth, the numbers are alarming, because the youth think that the government, actually, the Jubilee government has not been serving them very well. And I think this has been heightened also by this NYS saga thing. It has really disillusioned the youth. So I think the government has realized that in Central Kenya, things are not as usual. When you see Uhuru going around in Central,
but
you can...
I beg to differ. It's not... The disillusionment cannot be perceived to only be in Central. It's countrywide.
Yes.
I mean, rampant graft, doctors are on strike, and the government doesn't seem to be concerned about it. People are dying of hunger, there is drought, and all that kind of things. And all we are concentrating on is get your vote, register for registration.
Yeah,
I mean,
I used Central because that was what the CS had referred to.
Yeah, but you are trying to say that because, to justify what the minister said, because he makes reference to Central. Yeah. My point is that disillusionment is across board. Everybody is disillusioned by what the government is doing. It is for that reason that we have seen the Jubilee machinery go down on the ground to try and convince the voters that there is a problem.
Yes. Dennis.
I mean, what the CS is doing is unbecoming for a CS. But again, I saw a chief in Central Kenya saying, if you're not going to get out people to go and register, I think she's a DC or someone, and she was saying, we'll deny you food and we'll deny you water and we'll chase you out of offices. I mean, there is genuine panic in the hierarchy of the current government. So, because what I see is, I've never seen something like this. I have never seen a president go back to his own backyard to try and ask people to come out and register and spend so much time there. I mean, I can't remember Moi doing something like this, or Mwai Kibaki, I can't remember.
I think it is not wrong for Uhuru Kenyatta to go back to Central Kenya because he is a creation of the Mount Kenya region. That if he loses the votes there, how will he be able to go and look for votes there? It is not wrong. We must also see Uhuru Kenyatta as also a politician who needs to have his backyard intact.
And why should he lose? Why should he lose?
Why is it not wrong for Raila to go to Sierra?
No, why should he lose?
Granted, but when the CS is the one who's doing it himself, and Kasai is from Kajiado or whatever.
Yeah. Yes.
When it's the CS who's coming in, then there's a problem.
There's a problem.
Great.
Yeah.
All right.
There's a big problem.
Let's stick with this politics. And so here is the contradiction. On many Kenyans are starving due to the ongoing drought, yet you have seen TV footage of dry lands, dead animals, and people in need of food. So naturally, you expect that to be the big thing in our government. And should our politics? Yes? Well, no. All our political big boys, plus the ones we hire to work for us, are out looking for you to register. There's such a fantastic picture, I think, on our Super Bowl done by Gado today. I think our cameras would zoom right into it. But here we are. The battle is the most important thing. You must go out, register, and vote. Anything else doesn't matter.
The misfortune for Kenyans, especially those dying of drought and those dying of sickness in hospital, is that, unfortunately, the drought and this doctor strike has come during a political season. Nobody will care for their deaths in sickness or deaths when it comes to drought and the like. People, the leaders, both opposition and in government, are concentrated on getting votes.
Can you deal with the most important thing and get out of the way? That it's, in fact, your right not to vote, and you can decide not to vote and register, and that's fine, and it's okay. Okay? As long as you're a taxpayer, this government or any other government this country creates is entitled and should be able to give you services. Can we get that out of the way? That it's a fallacy that you must register.
It's a fallacy because, I mean, this government has been in power for the last 4 years and 5 years now. And the clarion call from the president and his deputies asking people to go and register so that they decide the future of this country. How are they going to decide the future of this country? And these people have been in power for the last 5 years. It doesn't matter. This is a government dancing on the graves of the starving.
Billy, you've just spoken about disillusioned youth in Central Kenya. It's the right not to say, well, we don't care about the political process. It's failed us. It's the right. They're within their rights.
It is not obligatory to register as a voter or vote. Actually, unlike Kenya and other countries, in Kenya it is not a must that you vote. It's only that it's your civic right. But I think it's unfortunate that the voter registration process came at this time. And I think the government, I remember C.S. Kionjoli had tried to talk about the danger of hunger. But I think the government has not done enough because hunger does not just come one day. There are usually telltale signs about an impending hunger, you know.
Aruko?
Yeah. Yeah, you said it. But importantly for me is that this problem signifies the collapse of the Constitution 2010. We were supposed to disperse power to other organs of the state, institutions, but since the Jubilee came to power, I want to believe so, we have seen peeling away power from the periphery, returning them to the center. So that politics, the national police now become the greatest thing in our country. That the office of the president now is the whole thing. So I also don't believe that there is disillusionment somewhere in the central province. I don't think so. I think what we're being told is just one lie after the other. We shall see.
What do you believe is happening?
Yeah?
What do you believe is happening?
There's a small-time game that is meant to maybe to some regions to put their guard down, because we are going to see the same people voting for.
But
and most importantly, the areas being ravaged by drought are not politically
You're accusing Billy of trying to spin this show.
Yeah, he's spinning. So I can tell you for free that the areas being ravaged by drought have no numbers. So who cares about them? Who cares them? Who cares about Marsabit? Nobody. But if this thing was somewhere in the central province, maybe Rift Valley, it could be a national crisis. Military choppers will be down there, doing these things. So we know. And history will prove us right, because we have been there.
I think it is simplistic to say that the drought is being experienced in politically incorrect zones. Because some of those places have experienced drought other times or before. But I think it's basically the problem of the government failing to come with plans, or programs that would caution the ordinary Kenyan from facing this kind of thing.
This two gentlemen's discussion is actually reinforcing my argument that it's unfortunate that the drought and the doctor strike and all that has come at this time, the politicking time. So the concentration will not be on the drought and sickness. It's going to be on voter registration. Accept it and move on.
No, but let's argue. Let's argue. If this problem was somewhere in the central province, let's just be honest, or Rift Valley, I think the reaction will be different for obvious reasons. Marsabit has no votes. Wajir has no votes. I don't know, Isiolo has no votes. Who will care?
Oruko, listen.
Two regions.
Just a minute. Oruko, just listen. There is if you go to the River Chania Falls or Thompson, this blue post, that bloody place is dried up. There's no water.
Have you seen a cow dying there?
Yeah. No.
Gentlemen, we must
I'm just saying
these images are from North.
We must take a break. But before we do, we're asking you tonight, should Raila Odinga record a statement with police over his NYS claims? Should Raila Odinga record a statement with the police over his claims on NIS, sorry. We're taking a short break, but we'll be back. You can tweet me at Dion Sarigo, at James Matt, at KTN News. We'll be right back.